All right, Tiki, Fullerton, we will keep track of that. Thanks very much for that. Catch up tomorrow. We've been focused on the banks this week with the announcement back on Monday of yet another inquiry, this time by the ACCC. This latest inquiry is going to look specifically at competition between the banks, whether they should pass on more of the Reserve Bank's interest rate cuts. But have all the lessons from the Royal Commission actually been learned? That, of course, looked at misconduct and exploitation of vulnerable customers. Well, a new book out this week, Vulture City, explores the culture and the banks and also audit practices as well. The book's author, Tom Ravlic, has spent 25 years in and around accounting, audit and corporate regulation. He joins me now. Tom, thanks very much for your time this afternoon. Well done on the book. Is it clear to you the lessons of the Royal Commission have been learned?
David, I think there's quite a few things that people need to bear in mind. The current generation of bankers will be paying attention. They'll be most sensitised to it. Remember, even people like Janine Perrott, who has seen a whole heap of these kinds of reviews over the years, will know that things go back to some kind of pattern, not so much misconduct, but you'll get a kind of systemic complacency that creeps in when there's no monitoring or no pressure from the community for people to keep their standards up. I think some of the lessons have been learned, of course, because people are paying attention. The CBA certainly today has indicated that they are, with a new code of conduct and a range of other things that they're putting in place.
Well, I was going to ask you about this because at their AGM today, the chair of CBA, Catherine Livingstone, did talk about all the things they're doing since the Royal Commission and the hearings and so on. She talked about getting rid of divesting the wealth management operations, higher investment in financial crimes compliance. You mentioned this code of conduct as well. Is there anything in that changes how CBA is going to behave?
OK, the thing that Catherine Livingstone says that is significant is that she's made the point that the philosophy of the bank now in the code of conduct will be, should we be doing this to customers? Should we be taking a particular action? In fact, what the CBA has done, David, in that context is not particularly far removed from what Kenneth Haynes said in the Royal Commission's report about the conduct of the ANZ and Landmark, where he said that banks have a power, but it doesn't mean they have to use it to the detriment of the client in the context, for example, of farmers and insolvency practitioners walking onto farms and trying to flog the properties off. But neither of those individuals, neither Livingstone nor Hayne, have got a novel idea in their head when it comes to that, because I remember interviewing the late Rushworth Kidder, an American ethicist back in the 90s, who had a view about ethics, and one of the biggest issues he raised with me during that interview, I think it must have been 97, 98 when I did it, was it's easy to tell right from wrong, but it's always challenging to make a decision when you've got a choice between right and right. And this is a kidderism, in my view, that we're seeing permeate the discussion emerging out of Hayne.
Yeah, the final one, Tom, on the audit front, because I know you take a keen interest in this as well. Are the big audit firms actually doing their jobs properly when it comes to interacting with the banks as well?
I think there's a few issues here, David. I'll try and unpack it as quickly as I can. What we need to do is better understand what the mix of services are that the firms are offering the banks and what services the banks are buying from them. There are things you can't see about audit quality from the outside, so our regulator needs to do a lot more work. I have written an op-ed piece, which is online at the AFR, which looks at the regulator's role and recommends that the regulator ought to be conducting more enforcement and giving the audit firms a bit of a kick up the backside, if you like, because I don't believe that they've done it much over the past decade. There's only been 13 people disciplined over the past decade by the Company Auditors Disciplinary Board, and that possibly has a bearing on how audit quality runs, because enforcement is critical. We saw that through the Banking Royal Commission. I think we're going to see it in the audit regulation inquiry as well.
Tom Ravlic, thanks for joining us. And once again, the book Vulture City out this week. One of the country's Leading philanthropists Nicola Forrest has been here at Parliament House today, meeting the Prime Minister and urging both sides of politics to get behind a new